Welcome back to Relational Lives, or welcome to Relational Lives if it's your first time. This is an exciting episode for us because it's our first Dear Therapist episode, where we'll be talking about a couple of dilemmas that have been sent to us, just discussing them and giving our ideas. Please like or subscribe to our channel. It helps it spread the word. Please do write in if you want to be in the next one.
Hi, Ali.
Hello. This is exciting.
Isn't it? Isn't it lovely having something from the people who are watching or listening to us? Yeah, it really feels like we can connect more, doesn't it?
I think so. I think it's going to be really nice to start to feel more connected with people that are listening and watching.
Yeah.
So we've chosen, we had quite a few.
We did.
And we don't want to rush them, so we've chosen 2 that we want to cover today.
Yeah. And we will cover the others in a later episode, so do keep listening and do keep watching. Mm-hmm. But these are the 2 we've chosen for today.
Yes, we've changed the names just to protect people's privacy. Mm-hmm. And the first letter is from someone we're going to call Joe. Joe says, my ex, who they refer to as G, and I were together for about 1.5 years. We met when I was 16 and he was 18. So he's defo my first love. But an older male friend of both of ours, referred to as R, groomed me out of this relationship so he could date me, where he proceeded to abuse me. By the time I realised what had happened, G hated me and R didn't want anything to do with me. In fact, he blocked me on everything, so I can't even reach out to apologise. I feel like I've lost my person. It's been nearly 1 year and I still cry myself to sleep because I can't get over him or get over the guilt of how much I hurt him. I can't stop thinking about the what ifs. What if R hadn't got involved? Maybe G and I would still be together. It's driving me crazy. Any advice on getting closure on this situation? Especially since I have mutual friends with both these people, so keep hearing about them. Thanks for writing in, Joe. And,
and being so open and honest. That's a really tough situation, isn't it? It's horrid.
Yeah.
Really painful.
Really tough and very young to be experiencing this. I mean, the first loves or early relationships can be hard anyway after a breakup.
They really can.
But this sounds complicated.
It does, and sort of injuring. Really does feel hurtful, doesn't it, in terms of going into this, what sounds, from using the word an abusive relationship. That's really hard. Hard any time, hard when you're young. Yeah. In those early relationships. And also with the brain kind of not being fully developed really either. So, there's so much going on at that time, isn't there? Yeah.
So I think nowadays they're saying the brain isn't really fully wired up and connected until 25, 28.
Is it 28? Gosh, it's going up,
some
I
of them
think.
Are saying that. So that's important to take into account as well, Jo.
Yes.
The other thing is, when you experience something like this, let's just say it's not, I've heard of it before, it's not the first time I've heard this kind of thing. You're young and you don't understand what's happening.
I think it's difficult in lots of situations, whatever age. When there is a sense of the language that Joe's using is being groomed. And we kind of talked about love bombing. That there can be all these things that seem like they're okay. They seem like that person's really interested in you, really being on their best behaviour, as it were, really pulling you in. And so why wouldn't you think that person's caring for you? Why wouldn't you think that they have your best interest at heart? And so I think lots of people can be fooled, if you like, by that sometimes, whatever age. But I think particularly when you're young and particularly when you're new at having these relationships, that can feel intense.
Because it can feel amazing.
It
to
can
have
feel
so
amazing.
much attention on you and to be so wanted.
Yes.
And you don't know that that's at the time. You don't realise that that's manipulation.
Yeah. And also, I don't know, Joe, what your history is, but, you know, some people, if their history has been where they haven't had that, maybe,
Yeah.
You know, in their sort of upbringing, that's going to feel really powerful, isn't it, to have that attention?
Yeah. It's a hard one to resist.
Well, it's almost, it will feel like a drug in a way, won't it? It's like we can't not have it. It's like nectar in some respects, yeah.
And we don't know quite how the grooming happened or any of that, but I think we can probably guess that was what was going on. It felt good.
And that sort of charming, that charm that can kind of happen in an early relationship when there is somebody who perhaps it feels that it ends up, you know, that it is more abusive afterwards. There can be a sort of charm first, can't they? You're charmed to come into the relationship, yeah.
What about the abuse? I mean, because we don't want to gloss over that.
No.
The fact that you said you were abused, Joe, we don't know how abused, but that's awful.
Yeah, really, really hard.
That's a trauma in itself.
Yes.
And
I'm wondering whether you have been able to talk to anybody about that, or if you're just holding all this on your own. Because you say also about you have mutual friends with both of these people. So I imagine that can feel sometimes isolating. And when you've been through abuse, what can sometimes happen in relationships, can't it, is that a lot goes behind closed doors.
Oh, yeah.
And so there can be the appearance of somebody being absolutely fine on the outside, and with all your friends and family, they seem fine. But actually what's going on behind closed doors is a completely different ballgame. And that can feel really hard, because it can also feel like, you know, you're going crazy.
What you mean, they might see R as this amazing person that they didn't know what was going on behind closed doors. Yeah.
I don't know whether, Joe, that was your situation, but it can happen, can't it? And so therefore, if you're being abused behind the closed doors, as it were, you know, nobody knows that's going on, and it can feel really, really hard to share that. And I think with abuse, a lot of shame and guilt and all those sorts of things can come in, can't they? Which are really difficult experiences to deal with. Yeah,
it's important that you find someone to talk to about that.
Yeah. And you might not be in a position where you can do anything where you can afford to maybe see a therapist, but if you can, or you can find a way, or even low cost therapy in some situations, that would be really good for you to do.
So this is about forgiving yourself, that having that compassion for you, that you didn't know this was going to happen.
No. I think forgiveness is a really important thing just to spend a moment on, because I think we think forgiveness as forgiving the other. I know you've said it's not, you know, forgiving yourself there, but actually we can think it's there for if something's happened that's not okay to us, that if we get to a forgiving place of the other, that somehow we're able to move on from it. And that's not what this is about. It might be that, you know, we just don't excuse that behaviour. Abuse is not excusable. And so actually when Ali says forgiving yourself, it is very much about having self-compassion, forgiving yourself, but also how you're going to find a way of letting go of the negative things perhaps that you might be thinking about yourself.
And we are so pleased to hear that you're not in that relationship now. Let's just
recognise
that. However you got out of it or whatever happened, you're not in it. So.
Yeah, and it must have taken you strength and courage to get out. And that's something to really remind yourself of, that's inside you. You managed to do that.
Yeah, okay.
We talked a little bit about closure, didn't we, when we were having a chat about this beforehand, and Joe's talking about any advice on getting closure on the situation.
Yeah, it's a tough one, isn't it? Because you're being blocked and you're desperately wanting to contact, is it G? G, you're just desperately wanting to contact G. Not sure why, whether it's to apologise or whether you're wanting to rekindle the relationship. But it sounds like there's a lot that you've been left unable to say about this. And that's hard, because I guess closure is being able to say what you want to say and to kind of get it all wrapped up in a neat little box in a bow. And that can't happen when you're being blocked. So it's difficult. I was wondering about whether you could write a letter, and it might be that you don't send it, or it might be that sometimes I suggest people do 2 different letters. One where they're just saying everything on paper that they don't send necessarily. So you're getting it all out, all the things you want to say.
Sort of without filtering, isn't it?
Without filtering, you can swear, you can say whatever you like. And then another one that you might want to send, which is, maybe slightly more filtered, perhaps with the apology that you want to say, the awareness that you now have. Yeah. And maybe you could invite G, I keep forgetting which one it is, invite G to communicate. And I say invite because they can choose not to still. Mm-hmm. But I think that might be healthy for you to feel like you had your voice. You've been able to say something.
Mm-hmm. I think that's a really good advice. And also, sometimes we are looking for closure in terms of hearing something from the other. And ultimately, we have to find that closure within ourselves. Yeah. Ultimately, it's something we have to kind of work through in a way ourselves. But I think doing that action of writing, whether sent or not, can help with that internal sense that you've done everything that you can, and being able to hear not only if you don't get anything back, but you can hear yourself.
Yeah. I had a client who recently did this. They felt that they had things they wanted to say, and they wrote this letter and they delivered it, and there hasn't been any necessarily closure in terms of hearing back, but it felt so much better to have done that rather than being left frozen with it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Is there anything else that we would like to say to Jo?
Oh, I just think, the biggest thing here is understanding for yourself, and speaking to friends about this.
Yes, so you're not feeling so on your own, if that is the case. I mean, you might already be speaking to your friends, and that's great if you're, or somebody or a trusted other. It can be so helpful to say these things to somebody else who you're safe to say that with.
Yeah, and you're probably, it's difficult because I think you've probably learned from this relationship with R. Well, I say relationship, it doesn't sound much like a relationship. This situation with R. And it can be that you are fearful of trusting other relationships, trusting what you get from another relationship, because you are, in a way, traumatized by that experience and not being able to trust someone's kindness sometimes. I've had that where clients have then been afraid to go into another relationship.
Which is completely understandable. However, I think it's important, isn't it, in what you're saying, that if you can reflect perhaps on, again, yourself and what you want from a relationship, the things that are important to you, how you want to be treated, what are the important values you have.
And how you don't want to be treated.
And how you don't want to be treated, indeed. So that might be really helpful, almost thinking, right, what kind of relationship is the relationship? What's a healthy relationship? In fact, there's an episode we've done on healthy relationships, so it might be worth even listening to that episode.
Yeah, we're going to do one on red flags and green flags in dating, aren't we?
We are. So that might be helpful. So keep watching, listening, and that will come along.
That could be helpful for you to think about, okay, what were the red flags that I didn't pick up on because I didn't know, not because I was stupid or an idiot, because that's a comfortable place for people to go to here, but because you didn't know. What were the red flags in that relationship that you could look out for next time? Yes.
Yeah. And so those learnings will really help strengthen your confidence, hopefully, in your next relationship. And of course, that might not be what you're thinking of at the moment, because I can really hear that, there's still those feelings perhaps that you have for G still. And that's hard. It might be also an element of grieving. that relationship that you might not have had a chance to do, especially if, R kind of seduced you, as it were, out of it. You might not have had that chance to think about that relationship and grieve it.
Yeah. It might be a case of, I don't know what the relationship with R was, G was like.
Oh, right, yes.
I don't know what that relationship was like, but you can end up sort of looking back with rose-tinted glasses. Mm-hmm. So perhaps also thinking about, well, what was missing there that meant I was lured out of it? Because there's probably stuff there.
Yeah. We can start then getting an idea in our relationships, when we start to have relationships going forward, of the patterns that we can get caught up in, and the ways that we think of relationships and how we are in relationships and what our part is, as well as what maybe the other person's part is. That can be really helpful to start thinking about.
Yeah, well, we hope that's been helpful for you, Jo.
And thank you again for writing in, and a really tough experience for you. So this is our next one. Hello, Ali and Roz. My name is Owen, and we've changed names, remember, for anonymity, and I am 24 years old. I have been going to therapy for almost a year now, with my main aim being to just learn more about myself and the way I think. I have enjoyed your content so far and look forward to watching more. Thanks, Owen. That's great. My dilemma is around a breakup. My girlfriend of almost 9 years broke up with me on Valentine's Day this year.
Ouch.
Yeah, a very big ouch. This came very much out of the blue from my perspective, and we had recently moved in together. I had got all of the arrangements sorted for the final move, which was going to be on the 22nd of February. My girlfriend did not give me much of a reason as to why she made her decision. She told me late at night, with her only reasoning being, "It's not romantic anymore. I've thought about this since September. I'm tired of not doing what I think will make me happy." I have not spoken to her since. I feel very used, as I was the one who arranged everything to get the flat in the location she wanted. I spend a lot of time thinking about this situation, as I never got a reason why it happened. This was my first ever relationship. I'm completely heartbroken. It is very hard for me to process that it is over, as it is not something my partner ever spoke to me about or tried to work on with me. I noticed her being distant months ago, so I sat down with her multiple times to ask her why and discuss how we both felt in the relationship. She always reassured me she wanted to be with me, wanted to work with me. I can't help but feel that she was lying. So, my main question is, would it be a good idea when I am ready to ask to meet my ex to try and get more answers to what happened? Would she even feel that she needs to tell me why? If yes, what questions should I ask? If no, what do you recommend I do to try and move forward? I realise that there are probably details I have missed or questions that you would want answers to get a better picture of the situation. So, final question. How can I start to figure out who I am without my partner? Finding my own identity is scary and confusing. Knowing what I want seems challenging, since what I had is what I wanted. So it's like, what would you do, Ali and Roz?
That was my question.
Oh, sorry.
That was the thing that I thought would
be
helpful.
Okay,
what
sorry,
would we
I
do?
thought I saw what she was saying, yeah.
Oh, this is painful.
I know, it really is painful. Owen, my goodness. I am Valentine's Day, of all days.
Valentine's Day of a week before due to move in together. A week before
having got the flat.
Yeah, having organised it all and not knowing that this was coming.
Yeah, and also having tried so many times, Owen, I can really hear that you've tried to have those conversations, during your relationship with your ex. Yeah.
Yeah. It's that thing, isn't it, of when you're that invested in a relationship, it's not just about the relationship, it's about the future that you've imagined.
Yeah. It's
your whole future that you've projected in your mind as to what this is going to look like, how your life's going to be. And then it's the rug is pulled from under you.
Well, and especially, how many years? 9?
Is it 9?
9 years.
Yeah.
That's a long time. And you say you're 24 now.
Oh.
So that's
15.
all those formative years, really, isn't it? So since 15 to 24, that's...
So those years that we talked about where your brain is still rewiring is you've been with this person.
Yeah, done lots of growing up with them. So really it must be even more confusing, I imagine, to understand why when you've not really got a clear answer.
You've been blindsided.
Yeah, absolutely blindsided, and that can feel so shocking, can't it? Yeah.
I was thinking about this and thinking about reasons people do this. We're thinking about why. Mm-hmm. And obviously we don't know why this has happened.
No.
But we can make some educated guesses, can't we?
We can have a think around it, can't we?
Yeah. And just, you've tried to communicate multiple times and you had a sense that she was pulling away. But for whatever reason, she hasn't been able to say it. Mm-hmm. And I'm wondering about that, what that is about her that's meant she's not been able to bring this to the table and say, these are the things I'm struggling with. Can we address them? Can we look at them? Because you didn't get that chance to work on the relationship, really.
No. And what you're saying in a way is looking at the attachment styles, I guess, as well, which again, it might be helpful if you haven't already, Owen, to listen back to our episode on attachment styles, because it might be helpful for you to understand more about your own, but also perhaps in making sense and some sense of this, if it's possible, to understand the attachment style of your ex. Because in a way, what you're describing, if we were going to put a hunch on it, is the more avoidant attachment style, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. It would. Yeah, if we were to make a guess, it would probably be that.
Yeah, I think so.
Not being able to communicate.
Yeah.
Shutting down, withdrawing.
Yeah. And also, I think, ending on significant attachment days.
Good point.
So Valentine's Day, sometimes, and this can happen, birthdays, events where, the
just about to move in.
It's all around, yes, exactly, real commitment days. And for people with avoidant attachment styles, sometimes that can really activate their systems to want to keep themselves distanced and away. And so I'm wondering if the fact that you had got to the stage where you were moving in together, this was Valentine's Day, you were each other's Valentine, there was a sense of commitment, and maybe your ex just found that too much, that they weren't able to move towards you. They felt like they had to withdraw. Yeah,
I think I didn't think about that, but yeah, and the moving in. That's a common one, isn't it?
Just about you,
just before we're about to make a serious commitment.
Yeah. Sometimes we've also noticed it. I know this is slightly different. Well, it is very different from your situation, Owen, because of the length of time you were in your relationship. But sometimes in dating, it can often be that sort of 3-month thing. I remember when you were going through this, Ali, it always seemed to be, let's see what happens at 3 months.
Yeah, or it'd be after a holiday or something.
Or after a holiday. So again, something that was where you got close, or where there was sort of more of a commitment almost, like the relationship potentially could become more serious. So this is, a big moving in together. But also, how much, Owen, you've put into this, how much you've invested in the relationship. And so I'm wondering again with the attachment styles, if it's worth just being curious around what your contribution is. I mean, it sounds like you've done amazing things. And has there been a pattern in your relationship where perhaps you have done more, where there has perhaps been an imbalance somewhere? Do you think that's worth thinking about?
I think it's worth thinking about for anyone, but especially with this kind of thing.
Sure.
This is your first love as well. This is very relevant because not only is it your first love, but it was 9 years of your life. So there's going to be a grieving here.
Yeah.
Of the relationship.
Yeah.
That's going to take time, friends, support around you, crying if you need to.
Yes.
Moving through that pain.
Yeah.
You can't avoid it, I'm afraid. It's going to be difficult for a while.
And I'm sure you're feeling that already. And we want those sort of feelings often to come to an end, to stop. And that's why we're wanting answers, why we're wanting some kind of closure. But actually, like Ali says, we have to go through it. And it might be that takes longer than you think.
Especially after 9 years. So you've asked us some questions. Would it be a good idea when I'm ready to ask to meet my ex to try and get more answers to what happened? You're quite within your rights to do that. I would, like I said in the previous one, invite that to happen. You know, you could do that in a letter again. You know, I'd really like the chance to meet with you because I don't understand what happened. I would be very grateful for that. And if you're willing, I just want some answers.
I think, like Ali says, you can invite it. I think it's also worth remembering, though, that you might not get any answers. Your ex still might not have the words or understanding of what's really going on inside them. So I think it's going in without that expectation, really. Hard not to, but I think it's being mindful that you might not get the answers that you want.
Yeah, but at least then you've tried. You've tried. But yeah, even if you do meet up, you still might not get the answers. And I think to be okay with that, to be, you know, maybe not okay with that, but to be willing and ready to accept that might be the case.
And in terms of meeting up, I think, as you said, I think you actually said it, Owen, when I'm ready, I think that's the other thing, is feeling resilient enough in a way. You might not be fully resilient, but resilient enough if you do meet up, that you can have some kind of sense of I suppose, what is it, strength within yourself, or confidence within yourself, that you're in a position where you're not going to feel blindsided again, in a way.
I'm just trying to put myself in your shoes and think about what I would do is probably exactly that. You know, I probably would invite my ex to meet up, just to have some kind of communication, to ask some questions, help me understand what went wrong for you. I'd just like the chance to know, to help me. I'm not expecting anything of you, but it's going to help me just to move through this grief.
Yeah. So those sorts of questions, isn't it? You know, asking in a way, you know, can your ex help you understand what changed for them?
Yeah. Is there anything you would do differently?
No, I think it's difficult, isn't it? Because I think part of me would, you know, I would feel so hurt. I would feel so hurt. I would feel so left and abandoned when, like you say, with the ideas of the future that, you know, might have been there after 9 years of a relationship at this.
All those memories as well.
All those memories, but significantly at this age as well. You know, I think it can feel I think he's saying, Owen's saying, isn't it? Is it heartbroken? Yeah, heartbroken. Yeah. It's like that heartbroken. I think for me, I'd have to have some time before I was able to do that, to have that meeting, because I might feel really angry because I'd be so hurt. And I think that I would want to try and be in a place where I was asking those questions because I really did want to understand. But my hurt's going to be in there. So I think for me, I could do it, but I'd need time.
Oh, I don't have the patience for that. I'd be like, now.
But I think I would then be angry, or I would be, and I don't think that would be helpful. Yeah. Because I'd just be wanting to say, you know. No,
exactly.
So that's why I think I'd need to almost calm my nervous system enough to be able to do it.
So, yeah, think about how that is for you, because I think we'll all be different there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, Owen, do let us know how you get on.
Yeah, and the other thing, reach out to people. You know, if you've got some good friends or family members or people you know who can give you some support through this, because I imagine that it's not just you who's confused by this, because I don't know your situation, your family situation, but often when we're in long-term relationships, if you do have a family, then that person's been involved in your family too, or you in theirs. And so that can feel really difficult, because so much was involved. So everybody might be confused by it, but I think it's really helpful to perhaps speak to somebody, a friend outside of that slightly, maybe outside of that circle, but just share how you feel supported by them, help them kind of take you out sometimes to have a break from how you're feeling, you need to grieve, but maybe have some moments of break from that too. Do something where you can find joy again.
Hopefully you listened to our breakup or watched our breakup episode as well.
Yes. But thank you for writing in to both Jo and to Owen today. And we will cover more people's letters another time in another episode. And we'll do that regularly. So please do write into us. We love hearing from you. It's a really important part of this.
And we could have if Jo or Owen in some point in the future want to let us know what happened, would be good to
that would be lovely
to catch up on that.
Do write in. We'd love to hear from you, and thank you for writing in.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Ros.
Thank you, Ali. Lovely to talk with you again.
You too.
See you next time.
See you next time. Bye.